Tonight on Noir, we talk cars and concealed carry with Rob Pincus and test his skills on the challenge course. We've made it to stage 11, and LaSorte's injury continues to give him trouble. Welcome back to another episode of Noir. So what's on your mind today, man?
Yeah.
So last night, watching the news, I guess, I don't know, sometimes I find it fun now to see how the media misportrays things. I didn't find it fun in my past life, but they were talking about some incident involving an AR-15, and they were talking about it being a high-powered weapon. We know the AR-15 generally is chambered in 5.56, 223. It is not a high-powered cartridge. In a lot of states, you can't even hunt deer with it because the state regulators there say it's too low-powered to humanely hunt deer. I personally disagree with that. But it's not as powerful as like a 470 Nitro Express, which I used in Africa this past summer. That is a high-powered gun.
That just sounds powerful.
It is. It's awesome.
I think it just, for me at least, I think it's asinine for them to harp on the idea that a particular caliber is high-powered.
Right.
Like, you know, like and you pointed out before, of course, the 223, 5.56 is more powerful than a 9mm.
Right.
And so forth and so on. But if I have a gun from a self-defense perspective to protect myself, why would I want an underpowered gun? That doesn't make any sense.
A low-powered gun?
Yeah. He was using a low-powered gun to defend his home.
Like, but even that, like, let's say we had a mass shooting and a guy goes out and uses an underpowered gun. How would that headline read?
Right.
Mass shooter goes out and shoots a bunch of people, but thank God he was using an underpowered gun.
And the whole ban in '94 was based around scary-looking guns. I mean, they banned bayonet lugs and flash suppressors and pistol grips and collapsible stocks. You know, when was the last time you heard of a bayoneting? It just doesn't happen. So they were really trying to ban scary-looking things. They want to make things scary-sounding, too.
Fix a bayonet to my AK.
Right. I mean, so it's all nuts, but I mean, it's a good point. When you're thinking about something defensively, we've talked about calibers before, you want something to be powerful. Is a 223 more powerful than a 9mm? Yes, but you want it to be powerful, so you want the job done so the threat stops.
But they seemingly hijacked the word and twisted it and made it something that has a negative connotation behind it every time it's associated with the firearm.
Right.
So, how they managed to do that, I don't know. But they're playing off people's ignorance.
Yeah.
You know, people are thinking well, the more powerful the gun, the more dangerous the gun.
Right.
No, a gun in the hands of somebody who shouldn't have a gun in his hands is dangerous. Period.
Right.
Period. A gun. If I had an atomic bomb in my hand, I don't want to kill anybody. I don't want to hurt anybody.
Right.
I'm not dangerous from the standpoint that I want to do harm to someone. I may be dangerous in that I don't know how to handle a damn nuclear bomb. So from a negligence standpoint, but otherwise, no, I want my gun to be powerful.
Right.
Because I need it to do the job of protecting me and my family.
I like that point.
Yep.
And I don't think some of these people are doing it maliciously. They are really basing how powerful the gun is on its looks. Like, the two don't coincide whatsoever. Like, there's some BB guns that look pretty bad.
How many times I've taken an AR-15 people who've never, like, I get off on it. I'll be honest about it. Like, I meet certain people and they're like, oh, you have guns? And I'm like, just close friends of mine. And I'm like, yeah. And they're like, you got like an AR-15? It's like, I have tons of them. And then you see their face, they're like, whoa! Yeah. And then I show them the cartridge that it shoots, and they're like, wait, it shoots this?
Yeah.
Like, yeah.
They're expecting something that looks like a 50 cal.
Exactly.
Yep.
Exactly.
Well, speaking of appropriate calibers and power for self-defense, somebody this week can probably tell us a little bit about that. Yeah.
We do.
Yeah.
Yep.
We spent some time with good old Mr. Rob Pincus.
Yep.
So let's check out.
Yeah.
Nice.
I know you're kind of very self-defense oriented.
I have been.
So what I want to have you do is basically run one of our courses. And then we'll run something that's more centered towards what you've been teaching pretty much for a long time. And then from there, I want you to kind of bridge the gap between how we're shooting here and versus what we could take from here, maybe apply to a self-defense aspect, or take a defensive aspect and apply it to this type of shooting that we're doing here.
Nice. Nice run, man.
You guys got me with the run. Speaking of the run,
Yes.
I really, it's pretty clear I'm not doing a fit shot lately.
Doing a lot of traveling, a lot of driving lately.
Driving really doesn't help with the cardio.
Right.
And you know, it's interesting how many times have I told people combat breathing, you know, mental breathing, focused breathing, breathe. And sure enough, I try to hold my breath for 5 shots after a, 100-yard sprint.
Yeah.
And at the 4th one, it just falls out.
I mean, what about the body tells you, stop breathing? Like when I was with Dom, you know, hitting bags and shooting targets up tight, he literally had to a couple times breathe. And then I'd be like, why am I trying to suffocate myself and my brain during a stressful event?
Well, you think about most human stress trauma like that, physical stress trauma is really short duration, right? Our whole system's built for super short duration bursts of survival.
Yeah.
And we've got a little bit of a reserve, but when we go past it, we're in trouble.
It is a weird factor, and for you, the long-term instructor, seeing people all the time doing it, and you're telling them to breathe, and then because this one moment after the 100-yard run, you weren't breathing, but you realized it, and then we saw your performance deteriorate because you were 5 hits, you know, on when you first shot, handgun shot was fast, no misses, and then it was the last time because I think your body was getting starved of that oxygen at that point.
It was, and to some extent that comes back to the injury issue. It comes back to all those issues of how do you compensate for not being in your preferred perfect situation.
Right.
When I did the first 5 shots with the rifle, it was as clean as good as it's going to be, right? Like I know it's coming, shooter ready, beep, go.
Right.
Same exact thing, like 25 seconds later, after the run and after the pistol shots, you get sucked into the game.
And by the way, it was 30.06 the time, so it was an awesome run.
I think there's something to be said about the level of familiarity you generate from running a course like this that you develop between yourself and whatever platform of firearm you choose to run. Because for a lot of people, they don't experience a firearm like that. It's really static.
Yep.
And I think there's a level of comfort that comes from that, so that in the event that I have to pull my gun, I'm already kind of familiar with what my gun's gonna do. I know what it's gonna do in a very, for lack of a better term, dynamic situation.
I think that's the perfect term.
I think it's true. I think the more varied the circumstances are under which you engage with it, like the cars, like we're all in the car. So the way, when you drive your car, the first time that back end kicks out, you know, with a little oversteer, whoa. But eventually, you not only are you comfortable with it, then you try to make it happen and look forward to it. And then the day you actually hit it on the ice and you're counter steering and you don't even think about it, like we all want to be there with our guns too.
And, you know, realistically, are you going to be more likely to use that skill to save yourself or somebody else than a gun? Yes. Yeah. Now, do you want to be able to master both to be able to, if you do have to use skills in both settings to save somebody? Great. But I think it's more realistic to do it with the car. And that's why we're going to go do some driver training.
All right, so here we are in the vehicle. Have you done seated shooting from a chair of any kind?
Yeah.
Okay, cool. So you know the basic procedures. Now what happens is a lot of people want to overthink the car situation. There's steering wheel, there's a seat belt, there's this, there's that. And what we're gonna do is we're gonna work around all that stuff to be as efficient as we can, because the idea, it's kind of contrived that in the heat of the moment, you wanna have to do this and that and 16 other things. Yeah. Let's just get the gun out as efficiently as we can, point it at the bad guy, get it into a position where we can get the hits and get the hits we need to get. So what we're gonna do is just really follow a path. And what we do is as we reach for the gun, I want you to move that strong side leg in and sort of straighten it out, because that's also gonna flatten it out. Okay. That's gonna open your hip up a bit too. You're gonna grab the gun just like you normally would. You're gonna get your grip. The gun's gonna come up, and then I want you to make a 90-degree turn. You're parallel with your thighs, and about the time you get to the center, you know, your hand's gonna be here. I want you to rotate your body, and now you're gonna use your outside foot to push. I want you to lean back, because let's think about it. If that's your bad guy, if that's someone who has you pinned in, you can't drive away, whatever, you just pulled into a parking space, now all of a sudden you see a guy coming at you with a gun, maybe a shot's been fired, whatever it is. If your window's up, we don't want you jamming the gun into the window. The angle of the window usually makes the gun slide forward, or if you hit it dead on, could take your gun out of battery. If somebody's right up on top of the car and you stick the gun out of the window and they hit it or grab it, now you've lost your defensive tool. So your body is gonna slip right out of that seatbelt, push towards me, and you should really be able to get the full extension without the muzzle being outside of the window. That's our goal. Okay. We're just gonna go super step-by-step, super slow, but we are gonna do this as a run faster kind of thing instead of crawl, walk, run. We're in the car. I want you to go ahead and put your seatbelt on. So the first thing we do is we recognize a threat. We got a guy coming up here. Now I want you to reach for your gun and get your grip, move that leg, flatten it out, bring the gun straight up, keep your eyes on the threat, and now you're gonna make that 90-degree turn with the muzzle, right? And now start turning your body towards me. Lean back, lean back, lean back, extend, touch, press. Good, come back in, finger off the trigger, and this is where we'd assess our environment. Now, one of the things we stress in a training environment, there's no reason to try to dig that gun back into the holster. So go ahead and use your left hand and go ahead and pop that seatbelt off. Left hand, open the door, step out, and you can just go ahead and get safely back into the holster. Come on back in, and let's do it again. Recognize the threat, get your grip, keep your eyes on the threat, come straight up, make that 90-degree turn, lean back towards me, extend, touch, press. There you go. Come back in and assess. Pop that seatbelt off. Step out. Get that gun safely back into the holster. And really, that's all there is to it. So from that point, we would just go ahead and obviously get down to one command where you were going through all the steps yourself. We'd smooth it out, and you'd get those reps. Threat. There you go. Threat. Good. Now, let's take a look at right where you are. Go to extension. Use that left leg. Push back and bring your shoulders. There you go. That's where you want to be. Take those 3 shots. Nice. There you go. Good. That's when you come back in, assess. Pull that gun closer to your chest. Keep it under control. There you go.
So I'm pretty sure you got your rocks off watching that one, didn't you?
You know I love that stuff. I do. I mean, shooting from a car is so dynamic, so complicated as you learn, so cool, not covering yourself, not covering your passengers. Obviously being with a great one here. I mean, I loved it. I do.
One of the first things that I picked up about shooting in that situation, as well as shooting athletically, the way we shoot here, is the attention to detail in order to excel in what it is that you're doing.
Right.
When you're running, when you're sprinting 50 yards and taking 50 shots, on the surface it just looks like you're running 50 yards and taking shots. If you want to get a good time, you have to learn how to change speeds.
Yep.
You have to learn how to run full speed, stop, get on the trigger, watch your trigger press, watch your breathing, watch your sights. All of those things communicate almost the same. And the things that were going through my head even when I was making certain mistakes when we were running it here. And there's a level of dexterity and agility that I think that come into play in the car too, that I think could not only translate out here as well.
For sure.
And ultimately, there's a level of what I call training discipline too. There's not trying to beat that timer. Out here, like everything's really designed on the speed. Yeah. A lot of times in the defensive world, I find that the thing that gives you the fastest time is actually the wrong thing because you're choreographing it to the setting, right? You might want to take half a second off just to get it right, not endanger yourself or others, and make it reliable.
Yeah.
Right. So that's where that discipline of, we're standing and we're turning, we're here, but now we don't want to cover our legs, so we have to make that 90-degree turn. A little slow, a little awkward, but that's why you do it slowly, but repeat it over time. Eventually, it gets smooth and gets fast.
But that was cool. I love that stuff.
So, me and LaSorte are car guys, and so are you. Yeah. And we love our cars, we love our guns. So it was really cool to be able to kind of actually go through a process now.
Yep.
And mentally, I'm not freaking out at the thought of, if something happens in my car, I'm kind of screwed and done. So it was really interesting to be able to kind of go through some of the steps and kind of see the way you approach.
We treat it like an unorthodox shooting position, right? So it's a necessary skill to get once you've established those fundamentals. And you guys, you did great. You picked up on it. You see, it's the same kind of process you would do from standing up, sometimes with a t-shirt, sometimes with a pullover, sometimes with a jacket. Now you're going to do all those things in this car, in that car, and the other car.
And so it's not new to you, but what's also cool is having a range where you can just pull a car up on the range and be able to shoot your targets from 5 feet on paper or
Everybody won't have that ability.
No.
But everybody who saw what we did today, they can take that and they can simulate that, right? So they can just take that chair and they can just say, okay, I'd be here. This is what would be happening. Here's the steering wheel, and you can kind of figure it out. You can put a piece of plywood here or a blue barrel. Give yourself some of that constriction.
Yeah.
Even if not, you can visualize it and make sure that your motions don't violate the spatial restrictions of the car.
Which, as we discussed during the shoot, is one of the things you got to really watch is when you're drawing, not crossing yourself on that draw, being very conscious.
That's always primary. Yeah, you can't take, if you're even whoever it is you're worried about potentially hurting. That's who you want to protect. If you take yourself out of the fight, you're not helping.
Yeah.
Right.
You're doing the bad guy's job for him. Yep. Well, thanks a lot for everything, man.
Yeah,
you are a wealth of knowledge. Awesome to shoot with you today.
Appreciate you coming out.
Cool. Yeah.
He just loves to go out there and flank and see what he can do to make things look hard. So this is a little surprising that he hasn't hit it already.
Adventure breeds character, and the path should be less traveled. Independence breeds survival, And you must depend on who you know you are. Your inspiration drives you to never waste a moment. As a pioneer, an advocate, a gun owner, it's time to celebrate your lifestyle every single day.
All right, well, with Rob Pincus being a self-defense instructor, were you still able to take away some stuff in regards to athletic shooting and then even beyond that?
Yeah, I mean, he focuses on mindset and really understanding that if you're injured, which he, I think, instructs a lot of people that, hey, if you're in a bad situation, life-threatening, whether it's a physical fight or a gunfight, you're probably going to get hurt at some point. Realizing that you just need to focus and still win. So the competition that Colion and I had, obviously a little less serious in a self-defense scenario, but I did, realize that I had to focus, persist, and still kick his ass.
I don't know. Sounded like you cried like a baby to me.
So now I'm all talking tough right here. I was like, oh, this hurts.
It hurts.
You've had some experience playing through an injury. Why don't you tell us about that?
Yeah, the most memorable one was my junior year. I blew out my MCL, and I'd already played 8 games.
Memorable sounds like someone's
Like she went to the prom.
I have literally torn that many things in my knee that this was the most memorable tear because it was mid-season. And so for me, that was pretty gut-wrenching, and I wasn't, available for a medical redshirt. I'd already played 8 games, so I had to do really intensive rehab and get back before the end of season without surgery. Was in a brace, and it was a lot of physical, but mostly mental for me. It was accepting that my body was not going to be 100% and figuring out other ways to rely on other things that I could do, my quickness, my movement, maybe not my side to side. Now I had to go front to back. I was a lot better at long range shooting. I mean, you find ways to kind of compensate for where you're hurt.
And that's interesting because that's kind of what went through my head is like, okay, I still have to beat Colion, and what do I do now because I'm going to be running so much more slowly going into the rest of the stages? And I realized focusing on making my shots was it. And you changed your style. I changed my style.
1000%.
It's an interesting perspective.
Yeah, it's totally like strategy shift right in the middle
Absolutely. Instead of just running and gunning and still being fast.
Stop overanalyzing it. It's now turned into the rabbit in the hare.
He's
The tortoise in the hare. Whatever the story is called.
It's an angry elephant.
Well, let's get on to the competition.
Okay, so right now, Colion, you are at 7 minutes and 42 seconds, and despite your injury, LaSorte, you're still running the lead at 6 minutes and 45 seconds. So
I need
for you guys to see. Even without his hamstring injury, stage 11 wouldn't set up well for LaSorte. He's terrified of the 100-yard handgun shot. You could go through decades of tactical training without ever even thinking about something like that. And then there's a 60-yard sprint for a quick 3-station sequence from the 40, 30, and 20-yard lines. With 13 required hits on this stage, it's going to be very difficult to complete it without a reload. But if LaSorte could pull that off, it would make up for all the time he's losing on the sprint.
100 yards with a handgun.
That's hard.
Shot.
Yeah.
It's a long shot. Now, one thing that Colion does do on a regular basis, though, is he does 100-yard handgun shots because he just loves to shoot. He just loves to go out there and flank and see what he can do to make things look hard. So this is a little surprising that he hasn't hit it already.
How many
There you go.
shot? How many? Oh, it's just one shot. Okay, I was gonna say.
Right.
And how many bullets does that magazine hold?
He has a 15-round magazine in that
Okay.
gun.
Okay.
Yeah. 15-round mag.
Gotcha.
Left. one.
So
So are you a little worried about the sprint in between?
Oh yeah, right now
Okay.
I don't have a sprint in me.
Hey, you know
I
what?
have a
You're
skip.
tough, and I can't say Colion did say that. He called you
5
an
more.
old man, but he also said that if you are hurt, that it's legit. That you don't ever claim to be hurt.
No, and that's true. I prefer not to be hurt, and I prefer to make people think that I can't get hurt. But
Invincible.
in this case, I don't even know what I was doing. I was just making a run. There was nothing in particular that happened there, and my
2
hammy
shots.
just closed.
Oh, we
up.
thought you got tired. We didn't know what happened. We just thought we saw you sit down.
Oh.
He's burying it right now. He's not
job.
though as quick as I had
No,
expected.
he
on
had some
this.
misses there. I think he probably had to have a reload there. I don't know. It's funny is he hit this 100-yard shot in 5 shots, and then he had some misses up closer. So I'm a little worried about this 100-yard shot. We shall see. And I'm really worried about what happens when I'm trying to get to that next cone.
Yes.
It's going to be pretty ugly. I think it's gonna make me look like I'm hop, skit, stuff I was doing when I was like 5 years old. Skipping, I guess it is.
Yes. Yeah.
All right. What was that run?
Ran the clock at 57.44.
57.44. What a story that'd be if the old man with a pulled hammy actually still beats you in the
Oh,
last 4
Colion, that would
stages.
make it
Let's
worse.
reset the course. See
It's
what
gonna
we
make
got.
things worse. I think that's a pretty good run. What were you doing up there? We were talking about my hamstring because my hamstring is now evidently, on ESPN. They're talking about it and stuff, wondering if I'm going to make it through the rest of the season and all that.
They go with those
what
geriatric
happened? I
delusions
mean,
of grandeur.
You took 5 shots here. That was nice. I mean, not bad at 100 yards. What'd you do closer up? How'd you do? I just didn't hear or see.
It wasn't too bad. I started feeling myself a little bit, so I started shooting a little fast.
Just getting a little tired or what?
No, started feeling myself, like getting overconfident. Do I need to give you an urban dictionary?
Yeah. What was that? That's such a great example.
feeling
So this
myself.
happens all the time. We'll be talking to one another, and all of a sudden he'll throw something out there, and I'm like, and he looks at me like I should have learned it like in kindergarten. I didn't learn it in kindergarten in Montana. I went to kindergarten in Montana. I don't know where you went. Oh, Houston.
I don't even know where that is on a map.
You don't. You just know there are bears over there and stuff. All right, I'm gonna go
LaSorte,
try this.
hobble
Let's see
your
what we
way
can do.
out there.
Don't
Good
do
luck,
too much
man.
damage to yourself,
I'm
man.
gonna do my best.
All right.
Okay, I'm ready.
So our Gimp is getting up to shoot. I do hope he does well.
He's gonna hit it on the first shot.
Of course.
He knows he's not looking forward to the run, so he's gonna tag it.
And this has been the entire stage.
Oh.
This has been the stage the entire day that he's been nervous about. Of course. Now that he's right, it's not pretty, but he's moving.
He's moving.
He's moving. Okay. To clarify, I only wanted to point
Now
out
I'm
that
not-
you only beat
I'm
him
just
by
hoping
2
I don't pull
seconds.
the
That
other one.
doesn't mean I'm necessarily rooting for him.
I'm not- yes,
Say
Okay.
that now when he's not here.
All right.
I said it earlier.
What do you say
I
when he
said
comes
it earlier that I hope his leg feels better. Dang. I'm worried about your time right now, though. To be completely honest, that hobble was a lot faster than I expected his hobble to be. Are you getting nervous? You're ghosting. He's mentally relaxed now. Man, all right, he's got the mag change.
52.99.
What was the score?
52.99.
What was his? Do you remember?
He got a 57.49.
Really?
Yeah.
Oh! Oh! I still got you! Oh, baby!
How?
I'm not giving up! I'm not giving up!
If he beat me, I'm done.
Oh, man.
So he doesn't quit after a pulled hammy, but Colion's done.
Pulled hammy's
If he
one thing,
got
pride is
pulled.
another.
What's my time?
We got you at a 52.99. Pretty sure your compadre over there ran a 57. So you edged him out a little bit there.
Oh, man, what a story this is going to be if the old man beats you with a pulled hammy.
Dude, you gonna be okay?
He's having flashbacks.
This
He did this, no.
brought back bad memories.
He did this to me on set that night. I guarantee you might get 5 words out of him this segment.
Bullshit.
What?
Bullshit. There's
What is-
no
what is
way.
bullshit?
There's no way he beat me. That is garbage. I don't know what type of voodoo magician shit you guys got going on. There's no way in hell that he beat me.
I feel like I've I'm like having deja vu. I feel like this has been a complaint of yours for a little while.
Yeah.
I mean, on several stages.
Why is the conversation still directed towards me?
Oh, okay. All right.
My co-conspirators,
I'm just not part of this
You're not
conversation.
going to be a part
they
of that,
feel
huh?
bad for me, and like they're running a slower clock for me or something like that. The fact of the matter is, I hit my second shot on the 100-yard handgun,
Impressive.
and you knew that I was stressing out the entire
yeah.
night.
But you all but baby crawled to the next stage. I didn't miss any shots
I
after
was
the
not
fact.
moving that
There's
slowly.
no way I lost that. Why am I talking? I'm not part of this conversation.
I was still kicking up dust. I wasn't moving that slowly. I was giving it everything I had, and I really was focused on making my hits. I think I might have had like one miss there. Well,
You said that was going to be your strategy
Your
moving
mentality
forward. So
changes.
it did for sure. I mean, and one thing, you can see my tongue hanging out, the focus, and that's how I putt on golf and stuff when I'm really focused. I end up sticking my tongue out.
So now he's Jordan of the shooting world.
I'm the Michael Jordan of the shooting world. I would love to be known as that, but there's just no way that's ever going to happen. Not me.
Well, I'm ready to see if next week pulls you out of the funk and we get happier, peppier Colion Noir.
Part of I'm done. Are you not understanding?
All right.
I just don't like the bad mood Colion Noir.
I know. Well, you guys join us next week for the next episode of Noir.
I won't be here. Next week on Noir.
So let's take a look at number 1, biomechanics.
Yeah.
And number 2, let's get trigger control down and getting our shots off faster to reduce that time.
Back here.
Oh,
Come.
Uh-oh, he missed one.
Yeah,
Missed
you
the
missed
spot.
the stage. All right, so this is the
Oh,
kind of stuff
man.
that happens when you're competitive and you're actually under the pressure of the
Move 40.
clock.